The city glistened under a steady rain, each droplet streaking down the tinted window of the long black limousine. Inside, Adrian Cole sat in silence, staring absently at the blur of umbrellas outside. His reflection in the glass looked like a stranger. Sharp suit, expensive watch, perfect posture. Everything about him screamed success, yet the quiet in the back seat pressed heavy on his chest. He had just signed another deal worth millions, the kind of victory that once made him feel alive. Now, it only deepened the emptiness. There was no one waiting at home. No one to share the triumph with. His life was made of numbers, contracts, and cold dinners in penthouses that echoed too much. "Sir?" his driver asked softly. "Should I take you straight home?" Adrian hesitated. "No, give me a minute." As the limo idled near a school gate, his gaze drifted toward a small figure huddled beneath a broken awning. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8, stood in the rain, clutching her backpack to her chest. Her shoes were soaked, and her umbrella was twisted, useless against the wind. She looked so small against the gray world around her. Something in Adrian stirred. Maybe it was the way her chin trembled, but she refused to cry. Maybe it was the loneliness in her stance, a reflection of his own. He tapped on the divider. "Pull up closer." The car eased forward. The girl noticed and stepped back uncertainly, her wide eyes darting toward the tinted window. Adrian pressed a button, lowering it halfway. Cold air rushed in, carrying the scent of wet pavement. "Are you all right?" he asked gently, his voice deep but kind. She nodded shyly. "My mom's working. She said she'd come soon. She works at the diner down the street." Rain trickled from her hair, and Adrian could see she was shivering. He looked at her thin jacket, soaked through. Without thinking, he reached for the blanket folded beside him. "You can wait here if you want. It's warm, and my driver can call your mom." The girl hesitated, studying him. There was something cautious, almost adult in her young eyes, like someone who'd learned early not to trust easily. Then, in a small voice that trembled between bravery and longing, she leaned toward him and whispered, "You need a wife, and I need a dad." The words landed like a spark in the cold. For a second, Adrian forgot to breathe. The innocence of her voice, the certainty in it, cut through the walls he'd built for years. He blinked, unsure whether to laugh or cry. "That's quite the proposal," he murmured with a faint smile. The girl's lips curved in a grin that lit up her face. "You look lonely," she said simply. "My mom says people who smile like that are sad inside." Adrian's throat tightened. He'd heard flattery from investors and admiration from employees, but never truth from a child. He didn't know it yet, but this small encounter, this one sentence, was about to change the course of his perfectly planned, perfectly empty life. An hour later, the storm had passed, leaving the streets gleaming under streetlights. Adrian sat in a corner booth of a small neighborhood diner, the kind of place he hadn't stepped into in years. The red vinyl seats were cracked, the coffee smelled faintly burnt, and the air was warm with the scent of cinnamon and bread. Across from him sat Lena, the little girl's mother. She looked flustered, her uniform still damp from the rain, her hair escaping from its bun. But her eyes, those soft, tired eyes, were full of gratitude. "I'm so sorry," she said, setting down a steaming mug of coffee. "I didn't expect her to bother anyone. She's friendly." Adrian smiled faintly. "She's brave. Most adults wouldn't say what she did." Lena's lips curved in an embarrassed laugh. "She's been saying that for weeks. Mommy needs help, and I need a dad. I thought it was just a phase." The little girl, Sophie, sat beside Adrian, swinging her legs under the table. She had insisted he come with them. "You can't be alone in that big car," she'd said, tugging his hand like they were already family. Now she looked up at him, grinning. "You look happier now." Adrian chuckled softly. "Do I?" Sophie nodded seriously. "You smiled. That means you're healing." Lena shook her head fondly. She's far too observant for her age. Then she glanced at him, her tone gentler. Thank you for keeping her safe. Not everyone would have stopped. Adrian studied her face, the faint lines of exhaustion, the strength in her voice, the quiet pride in her posture. She wasn't fragile like the women at his charity galas or business dinners. She was real. It's me who should thank you, he said quietly, for letting me join you. I forgot what this feels like. What? Sophie asked between bites of pie. He looked at her, a soft smile playing on his lips. Family. The diner was small, the world outside still damp and gray, but inside, between a weary mother, a bright-eyed child, and a lonely man rediscovering warmth, it felt like something beautiful had begun.